Hello, my name is Laura. This is my husband, David. I know the last few weeks you've been watching videos on the torn cloth, broken glass, sand, metal heart, rock and diamond, gold and diamond. And we thought we would share with you where these items, why we picked these different items for our story. Well, it starts with a Christmas present in 2005. And just imagine I have this box in front of me. It's one box. But inside this box were these different gifts. And so we're here to share our story on this gift. So as I open the gift, it says, "To my loving wife. In all of these things, God has shaped you and molded you into the Christian and person you are to me and other people. God and I never want you to feel sorrow and hurt again. As you look at each object and read what is written, remember how God, with His grace, has helped you. And because of that, you are a light to all that come in contact with you. For me, He molded and shaped a wife that only His hands could deliver. I love you the best way I know how, although I fail you over and over again. Your husband, David."
Well, Laura and I, we started our marriage. We were broken. Past marriages, financially we were broke. Mentally, and we were beat down, we were broken. We had lost trust, we had lost some faith in what we thought marriage should stand for. And in all those things, I never thought I was going to be able to be really, truly loved. I thought that God was not going to allow somebody to come in and love me with the love that God gives a man and a woman. And so we started this. Laura had, she wondered if I was going to leave her. I never raised my voice. I didn't get angry. She said, "Are you just going to build up and you're going to leave me someday?" So we had all these things that we had to maneuver our way through. But inside, I knew there was a strong, beautiful woman that had so much to give to the family, to give to God's work. And it was how I dealt with it and how God worked in her all the way through it. And all I could do was try to support that. And because I knew there was a very bright, very smart, very loving person in there that had just been beat down by life. And so we started our adventure, and this is our love story. It's hard for a man to tell, but men out there, I know that we don't share things. We don't share things with each other. Sometimes we don't share them with our own wives, our own kids, our families. We look at it like we got this, and we're not gonna show vulnerability. But I felt like this was important for this group that had put together and poured out everything, using kind of this template, with the torn cloth, the broken glass and everything, that I actually shared what my feelings were and when I did this and when I put this together. And I went out into the pump room in the barn, and that was my getaway. And the youngest daughter was at college, so if she found out, she couldn't keep a secret. And so I knew that I had to do this during that time. And when I reread this, after Laura pulled it out, and it was just a few weeks ago, I reread what I'd written. I said, I didn't write that. And when I look at it, I knew God wrote it. I didn't write it. It was not me. I'm not that crafty. I'm not that good of a writer. But the meaning of these things, it was things that she had, we were married in 97, and the things that we had to go through, and I could see in her the things that had happened. So anyway, I went and put this together, and when we got married, I had to buy her a ring to make it official, and we didn't have, like I said, we were broke financially too, so I got a pawn shop ring, and it wasn't very much, and I wanted her to have something special, but when I did this gift, I wanted it to be more than just handing her a new, ring, a wedding ring. So that's how I come up with this. That's where I, started this, is just out of a gift.
Well, the first item was the torn cloth, and this is the original torn cloth. And it says it stands for the times you were torn between what life handed you and what God had promised you. Now you know, because of your faith, God keeps his promises.
And I picked the torn cloth because you get something new and you rip a hole in it, or it gets torn. It's never, the material is never the same. You can't, as a kid growing up, we used to put patches. Mom would put patches on the knees of our breeches when we wore them out, so, but it's never the same. It's not that newness. You don't have that confidence of wearing it anymore. And with this, God can patch up anything and make it better than what it was. And that was the torn cloth. It was just a simple thing that God does with us that I saw in her. He put that back together, and I don't see a patch. I see a mended person. I see a mended soul.
And then the second item was broken glass. It was actually this baggie full of broken glass. It says, the broken glass stands for all the times you were broken and shattered. But with your faith, God has given you the strength to leave it all behind and dream again.
And we all know when a glass breaks and it goes into millions of pieces, and you look at it, it's like no one or nothing can put it back together. It's useless. It's broken beyond any kind of super glue. And there was times in her life, I know, that she just felt just so shattered and so torn and so broken that she didn't think that it could all be put back together. But in God's hands, he put it back together. And then through that, he made a new piece of glass. He took all those little pieces and put them all back together only that he could. And that's what he did in Laura. He made it all clear to where you could see through it.
The next was the sand. And these are the original bags, by the way. Sand, it stands for the seconds, minutes, hours, and days you spent being insecure, hurting, and in pain. God has given you the strength to pour it out and stand on it in confidence and happiness.
And I thought about the hourglass and how, the sand measures time, but the things, the sand came to me that it's, and you can put a whole lot of sand in a little bitty bag. All the things that got away from you, all the things that went by you, all the time you thought was wasted, all the things that you didn't think you would ever get back. That the things that I had to go through and everything else that happened was wasted. But all those things, the time that you thought was bad times and fearful times and broken times, God He used them. He used them in our marriage, because we look at each other and it's like, man, we wish we'd have met each other when we were, 18 years old, and she probably wouldn't have liked me then. But anyway, that we wouldn't appreciate and respect each other and appreciate who each other are today if we haven't gone through that struggle and seen the bad times and seen the things that really we thought were lost. It was just wasted time. But what God gave us was to be able to take that and know that even though there were terrible times, and even though there were times that we wish that we could get back, and switch them for different, doing something different or being together, God, He made good out of that. And so in that it was my deal. It's like, you can pour all that out and you can stand on it because we're solid. And God has put it back together that way.
The next gift is the middle heart. And it says, although rusted and bent, but never torn in two, it survived. It is bonded together by the love and strength of God.
So the metal heart, I took a piece of metal and took my torch out and I cut it, and I made sure that it was a piece of rusted metal, and just to stand for, metal is strong, but it rusts. It can be cut, it can get bent, it can get a lot of things. But this stood for her heart, even though it had some time on it. It was time that maybe you didn't want to live through, the tornness, the what your heart goes through, and all these emotions that life hands you sometimes, and that no matter what, it may be bent, it may be torn, and mine was too, but God put a heart. He never let it be torn in two. He never let it be ripped apart where we can never love again. And He gave us a love that, to me, our hearts, even though lots of years older, are shiny and the dents are gone, and He never let us down. He never let that heart, because He knew our future and we didn't. And He never let that heart be torn in two to where we never love again. And it would be devastating to know that I could have missed the love like I have with Laura. And I thank God every day for her. She is my gift from Him. And He handed me maybe a bent and rusted heart, but through Him, we were able to love again in a big way.
The next one was the rock. It says, made by the pressure of the earth, coming from all sides, and changing something soft into something that can withstand wear of time and storms that comes its way. It can be built on as a foundation, hold back floodwaters, and provide shelter from this world. In you, God has molded a cornerstone for our family by the pressure you experienced in this life.
You know, we start our life with um, dreams and promises, and you know, you work hard, you go to school, you know, you get this, you know, you're going to be happy that the things they taught us in school, you know, work hard and study, and the American dream is there, and we hit life. All of a sudden we get out and we hit life, and all these pressures come from all sides, emotional stress, all the things that happen. And if they all hit you at once, it would be devastating, but God puts the pressures here and there. And with Laura, she had struggled and gone through all these things, and so had I in a way, but when I looked at it and I saw what he had done from 97 to 2005, a family has to have a rock. A church has to have the rock. And it all should be Christ, Jesus Christ, but we all have somebody in our family that's that strength, the one that, you know, can do 5 things at one time and get everything done. But God had, through all those things, God had made a woman that could love me, love my children, love her children, all the same, and put a family together and keep us fed, keep clean clothes on us, work, but to love in a Christ-like way, and to make sure, and one of her deals, and that's why I call her the Rock. She was kind of like my late mom, you know. You're going to go to church whether you want to or not, you know, with the kids, but she was that Christian rock, and God had molded her into that, and he had done all these things over time, and she's still that way today. She is the one that a lot of people look to, and she can withstand that.
Well, then the last box has gold. Gold in the raw has impurities in it. The goldsmith melts the gold ore, and as it boils, the impurities come to the top of the keel. The goldsmith takes a ladle and carefully removes the impurities, leaving the precious gold. As the gold cools, it shines and can be shaped into items of great value and beauty. We are like gold ore. The heat from life brings out the impurities, and God scoops all of them away.
You know, her and I both went through this process in healing, and this process is, I can tell you, it's tough, because when they crank up the fire and it gets that hot, he was taking the baggage that we had, and he would crank it up, and then he would scoop it away for us. We had to withstand the heat for us to mature, us to get beyond the points that we were at, and out of that, though, he melted us together as a couple. And he took all those, will she cheat on me? Will he cheat on me? Will he be this, or will she be that? Or are we doing the right things? And he boiled them out, and he took all those impurities out of our heart and said, I put this together. I am doing the work. And he just asked for our obedience. And it was painful sometimes. It was, very painful. But what God has done, He made to us, it's our love story, and it's very beautiful. And but it was all this was God's doing. All this was in His hand. And each time He would reach down and take something bad from us, and that negative, and He kept building on that and making us into who we are to each other, to our kids, to the people around us. That I'm going to make you better if you'll just stand the heat.
And the last one is the diamond. The diamond is one of the stones known to man, made hard and clear by tremendous heat and pressure. When the diamond is cut, it reflects light like no other object we know. As Christians, we should all be diamonds and reflect the light of Christ like no other to the world. You are my diamond that I share with God. In this gift to you, I adorn my gift from God that is always willing to stand in the back, deny herself of things, and puts up with a misplaced cowboy that will love her forever.
And in this, she is that diamond. She reflects our love for each other, our family. It's evident in her. And most of all, people see the reflection of Christ in her. I wish that maybe I was more of that diamond, but Laura is that diamond. God did so many things to get us from where we started in 97 to where we're at today. And it wasn't just for our marriage, it was for our children, our grandchildren, but for His kingdom, to do the work that we were supposed to do. We had a pastor's wife, and we started dating, that prayed for us and prayed that we came together. And I think in her heart knew that our past and everything God was going to take care of, and that in us He was going to put together two people that would work hard for His kingdom. And since our marriage, we've done more to do things in a more obedient manner, in the right way, and for the kingdom than my whole life. And I started out in church, I guess I was probably 2 weeks old. I mean, my mother played for church, always had. And so I started out, but I didn't do the things I should be doing. But with Laura, God molded us in such a way together and bound us together that she will always be my beautiful gift from God. God don't give junk. And you take care of His gifts because they're very special. And if you recognize that, it will make you a better person. It'll make you a better Christian. It'll make you a better father, husband, grandfather, friend. But you have to find that. You have to see that. I just thank you for listening to our love story. I hope this has some meaning to some people. And I just want you to know this is very, very hard, but I think that this was important enough to step up and say, Dave, lay down your pride, because God gave you something very special, and you need to share the story. Thank you.
As you can see, I have a very special husband. who I love very much. But I know some of you may be in a time right now where you're suffering from that brokenness. You're in that pit. You're in that. And I can tell you with complete confidence that if you focus on the Lord, stand on His promises, recite them every day. The ones that I did when I was going through my tough times, there was a couple of them. And one of them was Matthew 6:33, where it says, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." The other one was Philippians 1:6 that says, "Being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." He didn't start something to leave you in the pit. He's asking you to rise up and focus on Him. You have to stay focused. There are going to be times that you're going to stray or look the other way and be like Peter and start sinking. But stay focused on the Lord. And if you don't know the Lord, I just encourage you to look and seek, because He's there. He's waiting on you. You know, all we have to do is accept that free gift that God gave His only Son for you, for me. And then just confess Him as your Lord and Savior. And as David said, we have to trust and obey. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes it's very hard. Especially when you're in the pit and you don't understand why things are happening the way they are. But hopefully the encouragement of these items, these gifts, then you think about, especially like the gold, when that heat gets turned up and those impurities start to come out, sometimes that's what's happening in that pit. Because it could be choices that somebody else did and we're suffering, or our own choices, whichever they are. He hasn't turned His back on you. He's waiting, arms wide open, for you to come running to Him. He's your Abba. He's your Father. He loves you. I just thank you so much, ladies, and gentlemen, whoever's watching our videos. I do pray that they have somehow touched you, pricked your heart to be vulnerable, to learn to trust Him, to let your pride go and run after Him, because that's what He's asking us to do. And I think it's even more important today than any day. I just thank you so much for all your time, and we really appreciate. God bless.